Hi, hello, my name is Eric, not real Eric. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use your original NES controllers on the Nintendo Switch 2. What if we use the Nintendo controller from 1985 and got it working on their new Nintendo console in 2025? Well, Nintendo's technically thought of this through. Nintendo offers two wireless NES controllers on their website for purchase. The cost is $60 for their double pack. No single purchase option is available. The unfortunate thing about these controllers is that they can't be remapped, and perhaps an oversight from Nintendo's part, these controllers cannot even charge on the Nintendo Switch 2 system, as they rely on the Nintendo Switch 1's side rail to charge the controllers. I personally do not own these controllers to test out, but I do own 40-year-old NES controllers that are even older than me. In order to get our original NES controllers working, we're going to need two adapters. The first adapter we're going to be needing is the 8BitDo G-Bros adapter. The 8BitDo G-Bros adapter is currently available for purchase on the 8BitDo website and on their Amazon page for $25. Something to note, the 8BitDo adapter received a software update in June of 2025, giving it Nintendo Switch 2 compatibility. So if you have an older model like I do, make sure you update it. The second adapter we're going to be needing is the Hyperkin NES to NES Classic Edition adapter. It is currently available for purchase on their Amazon page for roughly $18. Even though this adapter was created for the NES Classic in mind, it's going to be useful for us because it houses a Nintendo Wii port, which we can use. With the help of the 8BitDo G-Bros adapter and the Hyperkin NES to NES Classic adapter, you will be able to use your 40-year-old NES controllers to work on the new Nintendo Switch 2. For setup, the first thing we're going to want to have done is make sure that we have installed two AA batteries into the 8BitDo G-Bros adapter. So go ahead and turn to the back, take off that back panel to install them, then let's go ahead and turn to the front of the adapter. The front of the G-Bros adapter homes four buttons. The green button acts as our capture button, the red button acts as our home button, the knob inputs between Switch or Windows mode, and the yellow button is the sync to console button. Next, we're going to grab our Hyperkin adapter, which has a Nintendo Wii controller input and the Nintendo Entertainment System controller port. Going back to the G-Bros, one side has a GameCube port, the other side has that same Wii remote controller port, similar to the Hyperkin adapter, so let's connect them. Next, we can grab our NES controller and connect it to the Hyperkin adapter. Now that we have connection, let's go ahead and sync it up. Press the red button to turn on the G-Bros adapter, then quickly press and hold the yellow button to sync it to the Nintendo Switch 2. It might take a little bit the first time. The first thing I did was come test the input controls on this NES controller, and everything feels great. A corresponds to A, B corresponds to B, everything on the D-pad feels perfect. Start is the plus button and select is minus. Of course, I was going to test out the NES game, Super Mario Bros. I am happy to report that this game, playing with an original NES controller, feels perfect. Super Mario Bros. Was made for the NES controller, so this is a match made in heaven. The game with these adapters feels like there's no input lag at all. It easily gets through my 1-1 test and more. The NES controllers actually work well in the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance selection with NSO as well. Here is Super Mario Bros. Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES controllers, and it feels very nice. In my opinion, this is the definitive version of Super Mario Bros. 3, and everything feels tight, responsive as it should be. The NES controller was famous for popularizing the D-pad design, so I wanted to test how accurate are its D-pads through these adapters. I'll let the results speak for itself. If I could do techniques like shell kick jumping in Super Mario Maker 2 with an NES controller, I'd say it's pretty accurate. New Super Mario Bros. U is another title that surprisingly plays well with the 2-button setup of the NES controller. It just so happens that a lot of Mario games really want to have simple controls and go with the 2-button scheme for the most part. Unfortunately, New Super Mario Bros. U, or in this case Deluxe, would rely on the shoulder buttons like the R to activate Squirrel Mario's move, but with the NES controller, we do not have that function. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, another 2D Mario title that's going to work very similarly. Running and jumping with the D-pad and the A and B buttons feels tight and precise just like it did in the original Super Mario Bros. However, because we don't have one of the shoulder buttons like R and L to use Mario's badges, we're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage. But if you're a pro, you're not going to need that stuff. And there we have it. Using the NES controller from 1985, 40 years later for the Nintendo Switch 2. All made possible thanks to 2 adapters, the 8-bit Do G-Bros adapter, and the Hyperkin NES to NES Classic adapter. Using an original NES controller on the Nintendo Switch 2 is something I never thought would be possible. My name is Eric, not real Eric. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.